Video game prices can be a touchy subject. Nowadays, the average AAA release will set you back about 70 Great British pounds. Many gamers debate whether this is a fair trade, especially considering the number of games being sold at the industry standard price in unfinished conditions. Still, a good fully optimized video game is absolutely worthy of that price. However, not all games are created equal, and some soar even higher as they're simply worth more. At least that's what the developers want you to think. I'm Jess from WhatCulture, and here are the 10 most expensive video games you didn't know exist. Number 10, Forest Spring, £167.99. Do you want to enjoy a short but sweet first-person shooter that puts you in a beautiful forest and lets you tackle advanced enemies? Well, this game does some of that in that it's set in a forest and is an FPS. As for the advanced enemies, you might want to return to COD for that. Forest Spring is a short action game that places you in a forest, gives you a rifle, and sends you on your merry way to kill a collection of animals and humans. Sadly, defeating your foes is about as easy as justifying spending $167 on the game, as it takes at least a dozen shots to take each NPC down. The gameplay in this title is dire, as the enemies are such damage sponges, you might as well put them in square pants. Plus, the AI is about as advanced as a seesaw, with most enemies simply walking back and forth in a straight line. To give this game some credit, the general environment doesn't look half bad, especially considering the game's scale, but you can shell out way less for a AAA shooter with an actual story, decent AI, and appropriately scaled enemies. Number 9, Bunny's Buddy, £167.99. Finally, a game for people who want to play as a bunny rabbit battling against monsters, traversing sci-fi landscapes, and fighting aliens. It's what the world's been waiting for. Bunny's Buddy is a game about a bunny, shocker, whose friend unexpectedly disappears. The heroic rabbit sets off on an adventure to rescue their buddy after receiving a handwritten letter from them saying they're, quote, being trapped somewhere. Yes, really. In the game, you collect fireballs and diamonds and explore multiple areas, with jumping mechanics that are more floaty than a boy and a constant voice narrating your experience. There's certainly some fun to be had with this one, as it's utterly bonkers. It comes in at the same price as the last game, but offers a little more, including a story, the ability to shoot fireballs, unique locations, and a mishmash of multiple genres. Of course, this is likely because it's made out of pre-existing assets ranging from sci-fi to fantasy. If you enjoy a good old-fashioned so bad it's good experience, then this would be a blast for you to play. Of course, you'll need to fork out a lot of moolah if you want to download it on Steam. Number 8, Spooky Men, £167.99. This infamous horror game's placement on this list might surprise a few readers, as Spooky Men received boatloads of online attention throughout August for its preposterous price. As of only a few weeks ago, this game would set you back £999,999, meaning you'd have to be a literal millionaire to get your hands on it. Thankfully for the common folk, the game has decreased significantly in price, landing at a, I guess, more reasonable £167.99. Hooray! With this entirely fair price, now everyone can play Spooky Men. Sarcasm aside, the game itself is a co-op horror survival title where you and some friends explore a haunted house and exorcise the spirits within it. This early access title has cheap visuals, broken gameplay, poor sound design, and just about everything a game can do poorly. The pricing of this indie horror game has been about the only thing that's gotten it any attention. Without the strange pricing influxes, it would have sunk into complete obscurity. This should be worrying for many, as it's a sign that developers might start jacking their prices to ludicrous amounts just for free publicity. Although to be fair, pretty much every game on this list is guilty of that. Number 7, Hyperstrix, £169. It's time to see the first of many price increases on this list, although this one only goes up by a humble £1.01. That's not so bad, right? This game is a classic arcade-style fixed shooter that pits you against an ancient, evil alien race from Mars. You play as a spaceship battling against these foes in 15 different levels, with a pixel art style and retro wave music accompanying you. It's not hard to see that this game shares similarities with the likes of Space Invaders or Galaga. The shoot-'em-up genre is one of the oldest in the gaming book, so you've got to go above and beyond to make one stand out if you want to make it in the modern day. Naturally, this one is nothing but a standard venture into the genre. It's hastily slashed together with what were likely already existing assets, designed to be turned around quickly to make a profit. The price itself is a clear indicator that this isn't an indie-made title by someone with a passion for the medium who actually wants people to play their game. Number 6, Chicken Coop, £289. It's time to say goodbye to the £100 mark and graduate to $200 with this game that combines money and poultry more than KFC. Chicken Coop is a simple top-down game that puts you in control of a rooster. As this cock of the walk, you need to deflect eggs into various chickens, scoring points and passing through levels by doing so. It won't surprise many to learn that this is another cheaply produced asset flip that has barely any passion or thought put into it. The idea of the title is simple enough and sounds somewhat fun, but it's the kind of thing you might enjoy as a free flash game, not something that costs nearly as much as a Nintendo Switch. Even if you're a massive fan of chickens and have been waiting for your chance to play a game based around them, you'll probably still want to give this one a miss. Don't even think about putting all your eggs in this basket. Number 5. Claus Adventure, £399. Everybody loves Christmas. The holiday season is one of the happiest periods of the year, and it's also a great time to be a video game developer. Those ever desirable Christmas lists are something studios love, and this is the perfect game for your kids to chuck on there. That is, of course, if you're willing to pay more than the price of a trip to Rome for it. Claus Adventure is a Metroidvania-style title that follows a young Claus as he's weakened by the summertime and ventures out to regain his strength. It's a simple platformer where the player builds Claus's skills while passing through multiple regions. If you've played this one and you're wondering why the spelling of the name Claus is flip-flopping between a C and a K, that's because the game does it too. You would think that would be the first thing to make a firm decision on. Sadly, if you're looking for an original Christmas game, you might want to steer clear of this one, as it's yet another poorly constructed asset flip. These developers, Hot Food Games, have a long history of developing simple games based on existing templates. But while most of them are reasonably priced at around £5, this one goes above and beyond for the quote, season of giving. Number 4. The official gaming tailor game. Great job. £700, 19 cents. Plenty of YouTubers venture into making art outside the platform. Raka Raka's A24 horror flick, Talk to Me, or Filthy Frank's turn as a mainstream musician act is proof of that. This game's also produced by a YouTuber, but it doesn't quite hit the same notes. The aptly named official gaming tailor game Great Job is a first-person zombie shooter. It was created by the titular gaming tailor, who proclaims themselves as a quote, legendary YouTube sensation in the game's description. Of course, as a YouTube sensation, this game couldn't possibly be sold for less than £700. The gameplay on this one is simple, as you're put in a castle-like setting, given some weapons, and told to kill zombies. As if the castle setting and zombie outbreak weren't enough, the location is littered with giant corpses. This makes the game feel like a fever dream mashup of Dawn of the Dead and Attack on Titan. It's not a well-optimized game, but despite the ludicrous price, there is some respect to be given to Taylor for making a game on their own, something most people wouldn't be able to do. Still, since you could buy yourself a PS5 for less than the price of this game, you might want to hold your applause. Number 3. Ascent Free Roaming VR Experience, £999. Now, this is the first entry on this list that can somewhat receive an argument for its price tag. It's clear from its Steam page that this game is intended to deliver a fully immersive virtual reality experience and requires the tech to run it. This title lets you and a collection of friends enter a research facility infested by dangerous creatures. Thus, it's time to grab some weapons and mow them on down. Ascent is a VR experience developed for, quote, haptic feedback via motion floors, bodysuits, and climate control. As such, this isn't the sort of game you'll casually download and have a go on with your friends. It appears to be geared towards arcade owners or people searching to sell VR experiences. In that case, you'd probably be alright with the spending point, especially if you get revenue every time you send people into this horror title. Even so, it looks like a run-of-the-mill VR FPS experience, and not the kind of thing anyone would want to spend much money on, unless they were seeking their own profit. Number 2. The Hidden and Unknown, £1,000, 679.09 cents. The Hidden and Unknown makes a massive jump from the last game. It racks up an absurd price point, almost 3 AAA games above £1,500, so it must be worth that kind of money, right? Well, no, of course it's not. This game is a story-based visual novel about a young schoolboy fused with an AI from the future because of his brilliant philosophy. If you think that reads like a teenage incel's personal fanfiction, you're right on the money. However, the game's goal isn't to tell this story, but to explore the meaning and lessons behind it. At least, that's what's implied in the description. One of the game's taglines reads, "If you are often getting offended instead of reacting rationally, avoiding this game would be a wise action." If that doesn't make it clear enough, this game is a deeply personal but horribly misguided venture into social and identity politics. Oh, and don't ask how it writes women because misogynistic is an understatement. It's poorly illustrated, the sound is overwhelmingly obnoxious, the writing is dire, and the subject matter is unabashedly insensitive. The hidden and unknown may think very highly of itself, but no one who plays it would agree. Number 1, Blackout, £1,000 $999.98. As if the last entry wasn't bad enough, this game manages to be only 2 pence short of the £2,000 mark. Think of all the things you could do with that money. So what does this game bring to the table to justify that ridiculous price tag? Well, it's an indie PS1 style horror game, because the market isn't already oversaturated with those. Blackout is a first-person survival horror that sees you exploring a sinister house. You'll wander around darkened hallways and rooms as the story slowly unfolds. The price to length ratio is certainly skewed, as Blackout clocks in at roughly an hour, and that's if you really take your time with it. Paying that much money for an experience that has barely a fraction of the time you can spend in a £70 game feels almost perverse. In the game's defense, there are definitely worse indie horror games out there. It's nothing all that unique, but a lot of passion and thought clearly went into it. If it came in at £10 or under, there'd be a lot of positive things to say about it. But as it's currently the most expensive game on Steam, it has a clear case of mistaken identity. That is the end of our list, but let me know down in that comment box, what's the most money you've ever spent on a game, especially if it's a game most people wouldn't even know existed. As always, I've been Jess from WhatCulture. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you like, you can come say hi to me on my Twitter account where I'm @JessMcDonald, but make sure you stay tuned to us here for plenty more great gaming lists.